It stared at me, the same eyes that were there 4 months ago when I'd first discovered it. Now the pages behind it were filled, one with a creature who attacked me from behind, wings spread so far you would have thought it was trying to intimidate me through the paper. The page behind that now engraved with the image of the women whose beauty took my breath away. The then red pendant that laid across her chest burned black on the page, with the burn bleeding through on the other page. What is this journal? What are these things? How can I explain this to anyone without seeming mad? I went back to the first page, the creature I had seen on the road, staring at me now like it had in the past. What are you? What are you? The image of that day came back to me. The sound of pouring rain on the car, the sudden black spot emerging from the tree line, rushing out in front of my car. Unfazed by the 2,000 pounds of steel heading straight toward it and the jerky movement it made when I twisted the wheel to avoid hitting it, causing it to swerve on the other lane. What if I had just hit it? It is controlling this right, burning the images in this book, creating these monsters now. Did I just imagine these things? Have these events all been a part of my own imagination? Did I die in that car crash? Is this my version of heaven? My breath started to shake, an uneasy feeling coming upon me.
Nick, you ready? Nick?
I heard a voice behind me say, waking me up from an almost paralyzed state, twisting my body and seeing Colin looming in the doorframe. How long have you been there? I prompted him.
Long enough to see you staring at your desk, talking to yourself. Let's go. Drake is already outside packing the skis. It's time for us to get a winter vacation.
Colin then said excitedly. Okay, I can be out there in a second. Just doing a little bit of thinking here, Colin. Some privacy would be nice. I replied back to him, his eager smile slowly fading, my annoyed tones signaling him to leave.
That's fine, but we should leave in 20 minutes. I know Jake wants to meet us at the snowmobile place at 5. Also, during this trip, don't bring up work or think about it. You're not working now, so there's no need to bring it in. Have some fun,
Colin said to me, closing the door and letting me be by myself for a bit. I then got up from my seat, my back wet from some of sweat I had perspirated, now going to my closet and pulling out warmer clothes. I believe 3 different coats and 2 snow pants. I laid them out on my bed, folding and compressing them, then stuffing them into my bag. 10 minutes later, and I was outside, my skis being set upright against Drake's car waiting to be packed. I thought back a few years ago, my first time meeting Drake on the slopes when we were 15, and now the steadfast connection we still had 8 years later, with another ski trip to relive the moment that originally brought us together. I threw my bags in the back, the snowboard being placed on top and myself loading into the back seat of the car, Colin already in the front playing music. He looked back at me.
You can start to smile for this trip. It's going to be fun.
Smiling at me for a few seconds as his hand reached for the knob, turning up the volume and moving his head forward. I put my headphones in, droning out the world as we began our road trip. I awoke a few hours later, Drake waking me up as we had arrived at Abominable, a rental snowmobile place that Jake, a friend of Drake's whom he had met in college, worked at while trying to find a tech job in Washington.
Hey guys, Drake, it's good to see you again.
A kid, not much younger than us, yelled out, approaching. I looked around. The giant red sign above us reading Abominable stood out, almost pressed against the giant sheets of metal that were the building. We stepped inside, the air not much warmer than outside, with the only heat coming from a space heater plugged into the wall. In front of us stood a waiting area, littered with fold-away chairs, a wooden desk, attended by a woman who seemed not even out of high school, wrapped up in a blanket staring at us.
You guys can follow me. I already did your paperwork so we could hit the trails as soon as you guys got here.
The kid, who I presumed was Jake, said. He then led us past the reception area toward 3 large garage bays that had snowmobiles lining them.
6, 7, 8, 9. These are the ones I have kept aside for us. Now, currently, there are 2 other groups on the trail. One that left an hour ago and one that left 20 minutes ago. We shouldn't hit them, but if we do, let's them keep ahead of us. My dad's already kind of pissed that I am letting you guys ride here for free to begin with. I don't want to cause issues with another group,
Jake stated. Everyone nodded in agreement, and we made our ways to the snowmobiles, myself grabbing number 9, which was the closest to us. I inspected the mobile, which seemed aged as some of the original paint was now peeling off, and the tacky number 9 sticker barely holding on. Jake took number 6, and after lifting up his snow mask, he pulled out in the garage floor in front of us, maneuvering the vehicle to face the outside, then motioning with his hand to follow him, pulling out. Colin followed him next, followed by Drake, and finally me, feeling the force of the vehicle push me forward, reminding me of a dirt bike. We started to ride, the incline gradually going up, which made sense since the trail seemed to go up and circle the tip of a mountain from the pictures I saw in the reception. We drove steady for the next 25 minutes, the compacted snow from the previous tours guiding ourselves around the tree line and overlooks, giving us numerous looks of the valley and lakes below. I looked forward to Jake, Colin, and Drake, all 3 lined together, seeming they were having a good time. I stayed back a couple feet, earshot of whenever Jake called a place out, but far enough to feel excluded from the group. My mind didn't feel correct or right at the time anyway, almost like I didn't belong on the mountain with them. No, it was something else, a sense in me, that something wanted to see me, like it was watching me on the mountain. I revved my snowmobile up, the engine kicking itself into a higher gear as I approached Colin's trail, eventually sitting next to him.
About time you joined us, Nick,
he said to me, a visible smile under his mask. We rode together for the next hour, ourselves grouped in a pack as we were a mile from the original camp.
Wait,
Jake then said in a concerned voice, slowing his snowmobile down in front of a giant log covered with snow. The group slowed down behind him, and I followed the log, which stretched past the end of our push-down path. Its same thickness the entire way, unclear of any easy route except to go over it. Let's just jump it, I proposed to the group.
what is this thing?
Jake then asked, reaching down besides the log and kicking at it, the snow laying on top collapsing. I then started to kick it, expecting to be stopped by a log, but could feel nothing but the soft powder collapse upon my weight. It's hollow, I stated to the group.
What could have made this?
Jake asked the group.
A log?
Drake suggested.
Yeah, but where's the log? Plus, it would need to be a thick tree. This pile is 14 inches wide.
Jake argued.
Well, maybe someone just took the log.
Drake said, seemingly done trying to solve the mystery.
But that would mean they would have to move a giant log in what? Under an hour? We drove this trail when we headed for the mountain. This just popped up and it hasn't snowed.
I looked at the snow bump again, pondering how it could have been created.
Let's just go. It's just snow. Probably a snowbank. Plus, we still have to check in at our house.
Colin then spoke up, starting his snowmobile and driving over the bank. An hour later, we had checked into the home we rented for our weekend. The place was nice, at least for what 2 college kids and an entry-level police officer could afford, with 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 on the main floor, which we let Drake have since he organized the trip. We soon found ourselves talking in front of the fireplace, which gave the room more light.
What did you ever do with that journal?
Colin asked casually in conversation.
What journal?
Jake butted in.
Nick found a journal with like a messed up human on the first page. What was that from? Your first or second week with the police?
Colin filled Jake in. It was my first week. Now that journal is gone, I tossed it away, probably collecting dust in a landfill or been recycled to something new.
I wonder how paper gets recycled.
Jake then said, changing subjects. My mind then changing thoughts as I dimmed their conversations out. I don't remember much of the night after that. A couple more drinks in my system before waking up the next morning to the sunlight shining in my face. After breakfast, we went out for the day, to a mountain called Mount Hempel. We have skied here before. Most of the time was when we were in our high school years. But every so often during the winter, we would come and make another trip for our college memories. I had recognized myself with the layout of the ski paths, the quick and steep down hills, and the curves that would knock someone new off balance. A personal memory from when I was a freshman in high school. But now was different. Now was the time I could run the course, managing to fly down the mountain. And we did. Me, Colin, Drake, and sometimes even Jake, who seemed to be more nuanced to the sport than us, but nonetheless could keep up with the trails we took. Now it was almost midday, and we had taken more trips up the lift than I could care to count. We were headed for what the place called Freedom Slope, a wider path that was around 100 yards across, clear of any obstacles, with a soft descent making it prime for beginners or people wanting to get better at curves. For us, we were after the curves, making sure to hit the trails on the edge of the open slope that would round out back into itself. Within 5 minutes, we stood on the peak, looking down the nearly 600 yards to where it met the bottom. Drake and Jake had already left, nearly diving down the peak before making a fast curve that spread the length of the hill. Colin then went, leaving me by myself. I looked for my path, a gradual tilt to the right, followed by a turn left leading into a path in the woods, which would eventually kick me out to the slope where I would nearly be down the hill. I began my descent, speed kicking up, then slowing down as my skis digged into the snow, my body twisting to the left. I entered the trail, trees lining my side as it narrowed down. I kept moving forward, keeping the same momentum from when I had started. Then I saw it, looking ahead, the light snow on the ground elevating slightly, like it was being pushed up, as if something below was passing the trail in front of me. I prepared to jump it, hitting the pile and feeling the top of my board catch onto something, a rock I thought. My body started to fly and I flung up, hitting the ground even faster and rolling. My legs went above my head as I tumbled, then hitting the ground forcibly and locking in with a tree. My body just swung, my back hitting the trunk of an even larger trunk, my mind going black. I awoke from an unconscious state a few moments later, my body winched in pain, my eyes open enough to see the blood on my coat. I could feel the cut on my leg instantly, the cold air coming in from the rip on my pants. What did I hit? I asked, then stopping in fear as I felt something passed under my leg. I tried to lift my head up, but didn't have the strength. I could feel something, like a large rope being pulled under my leg, continuing the go for another 20 seconds, my body unable to move as it stayed in fear. It finally left and I waited a few moments, then started to get myself up, my body aching as any weight on my leg burned. I made it out of the trail after a short walk, a few looks from those on the slope in horror as more and more blood dripped onto my shoes, marking the trail from where I had crashed. Colin then raced up the hill, amazed at what had happened.
I haven't seen you crash and get hurt like this since 10th grade. Here, let's get you some pads and to someplace warm,
he mentioned, putting my shoulder above his neck and assisted my walk back to the medical bay. Once in the bay, I was swarmed by doctors and nurses, younger staff near my age whom I think were there working to get credits while still at school. Anyway, they wrapped my leg, enough where I could feel the muscles push against my bone, but at least the wound was now prepped to heal.
Do you know what you tripped on out there? Or what caused this cut?
One of the doctors said, having to be no more than 3 years older than me. I think it was rock, or maybe a log hidden under the snow. He nodded, adding,
Must have been a really jagged rock. From the cut flesh, it almost looks like something really sharp cut you, like a knife or glass. This cut was clean, not jagged like we usually see when people hit a rock.
We spent another hour chatting, mostly making sure that my cut was sealed and not going to pop out under the gauze, which if it did happen, they had given me enough to fix it myself. Colin and Drake helped me in the car, cutting short our trip on the mountain, now driving back to where we would stay the night.
And Justin from Mount Olympus, a sighting of unexpected paths emerging among the snow hills. skiers finding long trail-like paths under the snow with no clear idea of what it could be. Our chief weather analyst claims they are nothing more than snowbanks, created from the wind. Others in the town are less caring for his idea, saying these tunnels were used for something to transport in, that they were hollow.
The news reporter went.
Sounds like whatever we saw at Abominable they had in Mount Olympus too. Probably some science guy will have a big explanation for it one day.
Jake joked, me coming off the couch and into my room. I now reached down for my bag, pulling the book out and opening it up. I flipped the pages, going to where it last sat as blank. A serpent now on the page, drips of blood seemingly on its fang.
This should be enough, slithery one. This should be enough. Now, we can move on to the next step. Maintain a connection with him, peer into his mind and soul, feel him. Our connection will be great. The beginning of a new world.